Chex bowl and some softened room temperature butter and some sugar. I pre-measured everything out just so it was a little bit of an easier process to film, so again, the recipe will be down below for all the exact measurements. And then taking a hand mixer, I just mixed all of that together until it looks fluffy like this, and then I'm adding 1 full egg and then 1 egg yolk. I told you guys in my last baking video that I would make it more aesthetic the next time, and I definitely did. I'm much happier with how this video looks. Here I'm also adding some vanilla to the batter. And again, taking the hand mixer and blending that together. You basically just want to blend until everything is smoother and not quite as chunky. But it doesn't need to be 100% smooth, because the next ingredients that are going to be added will almost make it look chunky again, and you'll see that in a second here. So after that's all mixed up, I'm adding the next few ingredients, which are whole milk and then sour cream. Now sour cream is like a secret weapon when it comes to baking. It makes your cake hold all of that moisture and just be a really decadent and delicious cake batter. I had a lot of fun trying to get it out of that heart-shaped measuring cup, I'll tell you. Then mixing those ingredients into the batter. Your batter's almost gonna look curdled, and that's fine because it'll smooth out with the next step. I tried to leave as much mixing and stuff as I could, but a lot of the mixing took a while, so I had to cut some of it out because that would have been so boring and I would literally have nothing to say while I was doing it. So next, I'm going to add that dry mixture from earlier, and I'm just going to add it all at once. And then this is where the batter will really come together. So this is a black velvet recipe, but this is also using a chocolate buttercream rather than a cream cheese frosting. So I wanted to kind of explain how this could be black velvet without food coloring. So basically I had to use black food coloring because I could not find black cocoa powder anywhere, not even at my more fancy grocery stores that have the more unique baking ingredients. So I settled for the Ghirardelli Dutch process cocoa powder. So basically black cocoa powder gives that natural black look to your baked goods without adding dye to it. So that would be more ideal. But since I couldn't find that, I had to add the dye. But black cocoa powder is an ultra alkalized cocoa powder, and it gives that rich, deep black look that Oreos have. And it's actually what Oreo uses. So when you use that in baking, a lot of the times your chocolate baked goods will taste similar to Oreo, and that's why. But if you do not have access to black cocoa powder or have a hard time finding it, using a Dutch process cocoa powder works perfectly fine because it is also alkalized, just not to the extent of black cocoa powder, and you won't get your batter to be quite as dark. So I'm just using dye to make up for that. You can also completely omit the dye. I'm just doing this for aesthetic reasons. For Halloween, I wanted a very black, rich looking cupcake, so I'm not next time I make these, I probably won't even add dye. So now that the batter is ready to go, I'm showing you my cute little black and white cupcake liners that I thought would be perfect to match the cupcake. And then I'm filling those about 3/4 of the way full. Normally, I actually like to bake with silicone liners, but mine are all super colorful, and it just didn't fit the aesthetic for today's video, so I decided to use paper ones instead. But normally I use silicone because it holds moisture longer, and the cupcakes don't dry out nearly as fast as they do with paper, so the things I do for a cute aesthetic video. And then I just fill some of these up on camera so you can get the idea, but it's pretty simple. Sometimes it's satisfying to just look at batter going into the cupcake liners as well. I obviously decided to do fluffy mic scratching with this voiceover because I don't know, I don't think I did it in the last one, but every time I don't do it, a lot of you guys are like, I wish you did fluffy mic scratching, so I try to alternate so everyone's happy, but this time I'm doing the fluffy mic scratching for those of you that like that. And also, I'm sorry this video is so short. I really don't like posting videos under 20 minutes. I just don't like it at all, but I could not get this video past 15 minutes, so it'll have to do, I guess. So once all my liners are filled and the cupcakes are baking, it's time to start working on the chocolate buttercream icing. And here I'm adding my softened butter to my stand KitchenAid mixer with the whisk attachment. And I will be honest with you, to get a really nice, fluffy buttercream with a great consistency, it takes a lot of time. So I did cut quite a bit out of the mixing process. But this is the overall consistency you want. Just getting your butter whipped. And of course, always scrape the sides of your bowl and your attachment. And that was the cocoa powder I used, by the way. It is really, really good. I love all of Ghirardelli's products, and I always opt for those when I can. So this recipe requires your cocoa powder and powdered sugar to be sifted into the mixture. And I'm just using one of these metal sifter things. I have like a standard one with the crank on it, but I'm going to be so for real, I hate using those. I think they're annoying to clean, and this gets the job done so much faster, so I always use this thing. But anyways, use whatever you have. I just think this is a lot easier. And then I do this in batches. So the first batch is the first ingredient, which is the cocoa powder. And then next will be the powdered sugar. And it requires 2 cups of powdered sugar. So I did 1 cup, mixed it, added the second cup, and mixed it, but I don't think I show myself adding the second cup. It's already starting to look amazing, and I have to tell you, this buttercream was the best chocolate buttercream I've ever had and ever made. It was so good. And here I'm just sifting in that first cup of powdered sugar. Buttercreams are definitely more time consuming and require a little more love, but the end result is always worth it. I do love a cream cheese frosting, but this buttercream really was perfect for this recipe. second here, you're going to see it looking a lot more full, and that's because I added more powdered sugar to the mix. Now I'm adding a couple tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. The recipe called for, I believe, 1 to 3 or 2 to 3, I can't remember, but I decided on 3 to get it to the actual consistency that I wanted, and it was perfect. And I put my stand mixer on a very high speed to get it nice and whipped together. Now here I am adding black icing dye to get the icing to be a really deep black color. It looks gray at first, and then I added just a little bit more and I got it to the right color I wanted. Only downside with dark food coloring like this is it makes your lips purple for a little bit after you eat them. Okay, so I'm taking this Wilton number 6B metal star tip and I put that in my piping bag. And now I am putting the buttercream into the piping bag using my glass technique. I also ended up not using a coupler with my piping tip and bag because these Wilton tips and bags are so good that you really don't need a coupler, so I didn't feel the need to add one, but I find them more useful when you're using like extra large piping bags or reusable piping bags. I did not get a clip of me taking the cupcakes out of the oven for some reason, but here they are. They baked beautifully and they were so, I'm gonna use the word everyone hates, they were so moist. They were so good. And here I'm just doing a very generic, simple frosting technique. I'm just doing the spiral, and I like this tip because it makes it kind of a little fancier than just like a smooth frosted look. So I was kind of over it at this point, to be honest with you. Filming takes a lot longer when you're baking. Like, this took double the time than it would if I wasn't filming, so I was just like over it and did the most simple frosting technique. I could have made them look prettier, but like I said, I was over it. And a simple swirl gets the job done. And the recipe that I used perfectly made 12 cupcakes and just the right amount of icing for those 12 cupcakes. So everything was very precise and I had barely any left over, which was perfect. So now I'm just adding some black and orange sugar crystal sprinkles to the cupcakes for just, a little decorative flair. And that is going to complete this recipe and this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully